First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakal Kadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who have taught me this truth, and shout out to Yakin that's out there in the four quarters of the earth, going out and proclaiming this truth, telling the world, blacks, Latinos, Native Americans, and the confusion of faith that be among us, we're the real Hebrew Israelites, unlike those bastards in Ashdod. Well, get into a few things here. As you know, Putin and Trump had met each other, and both sides are giving out a fake narrative that the two leaders are getting along, when in fact everything's a lie. So they're both projecting that, oh, the talks went well and all that. That's not true. In fact, you know, one of the big ones, talking points, was Syria. And you know as well as I do that the Israeli state, Amalek, wants to take over Syria, especially from the Golan Heights area. They want Damascus ultimately, and so they're doing everything they can to take Damascus, which we know the prophecy of Isaiah talks about it. But pretty much, though, part of it was the talks on Syria. So here's a little bit about what RT is putting out there.
Behind the U.S. media of whether Donald Trump is in fact a Russian agent or not, Saturday's summit in Helsinki did in fact see some impressive diplomacy. One of the issues where the leaders seemed to have common ground was Syria, and Russia's defense ministry says it's ready to implement any deals agreed upon. Now joined in the studio by RT's Maria Finoshina. Now, Maria, what's been achieved at this summit then?
In fact, it's really hard to say what has been achieved, and it's not clear what concrete steps or what exact changes in the two countries, U.S. and Russia military strategies and tactics in Syria, we can expect following these claims and the dialogue that we had yesterday on Monday. But what we can say for sure and what is clear is that this is certainly a positive sign for Syria. The rhetoric between the two countries recently has been very uneasy. We've even been here in Russia and US accusing each other of destabilizing the situation in Syria, and even warning the other side that certain steps could be dangerous and certain reaction could follow. So it was quite tense, and now we hear that Russia's President Vladimir Putin says that the two countries coordinate in Syria very well, and we heard Trump saying that actually the military gets along very well, and they've even gotten along better than any political leaders. Let's take a listen.
In fact, our militaries actually have gotten along probably better than our political leaders for years, but our militaries do get along very well, and they do coordinate in Syria and other places.
So, anyhow, they both are being deceitful because it is a New World Order agenda plan, which is the depopulation plan, a.k.a., you know, getting everybody down to 500 million. But like everything else, though, we know that it's the most highest plan in this. Wow, it looks like Apostle Tahara's put out a video, so I'm going to check that out in a little bit. Economic collapse, the chip in World War III. Well, that's a subject that we all ought to be on. Of course, we also know that Russia never hacked the elections. You know, this is a smokescreen, kind of like the Democratic Party is supposed to be opposed to the Republican Party. Nobody gives a shit anymore about this stuff because we know that the elections are fixed, and we wouldn't vote for them devils anyways. But anyhow, the silver-tongued devil, because they're both right now got a silver tongue. We know that what the prophecies say, but they're going to lie to the people and give them a false hope. This, when they shall say peace, then cometh sudden destruction, which is what's going to happen. I've been talking a lot about that last hour. I think we all have. It's been on our minds. So let's take a listen. W7 put this up.
We see some concern out there today over comments that were made by Trump, and I've got a few emails from individuals that live in Maine that are voicing their concern about this tie between our state of Maine and the country of Montenegro. Now, in this interview where Tucker Carlson was talking to Donald Trump, he basically asked him, you know, what's up with this country? Why should I send my son to defend this country? Yada, yada. And they're like, yeah, they're part of NATO. NATO was created to stop a Russian invasion. Then they went on to state that a Russian invasion isn't going to happen. It's never going to happen with Europe. You're never going to see it in so many words. And we could see anything happen out here on the world stage, depending on how they want to swing it and spin it, but per this conversation, they get on this kick about Montenegro, in that they are very aggressive, and that backing these aggressive individuals could result in World War III. It was really just left right there with that comment. There wasn't no going deep into discussion about the people. And they say, we have no problem against the people in Montenegro or Albania or any other country. I guess what they tried to flip this back to is NATO. And then Trump goes on to state that, look, all these countries have been wanting our military backing, wanting our help and our support, but they're not wanting to pay for nothing. So they're going to have to pay for something in terms of this. But if you're hearing the discussion of Montenegro and World War III, what I am getting out of this whole thing, there may be more ticker taped into it than what meets the eye. We may see something come down the road. That's why this whole thing was brought up and put into this little interview and dropped on the masses. They do things like that. Or it could amount to not much of anything. But they're talking about the small Montenegro, and that such a small country could lead to World War III. I mean, look at everything else we've seen going on out here. They could lead to World War III, everything with China, the stuff in Syria, Ukraine, all these other areas, Afghanistan. I mean, come on. And then out of nowhere, the talk of this little country in World War III, well, it didn't have any substance behind it thus far in terms of a reasoning. But after doing some digging, we find out some very interesting information that many people out there may not be aware of when it comes to Maine. It looks like the governor of Maine was just in Montenegro. And would you believe this? Maine and Montenegro signed an agreement in 2006, just months after the country's independence, as part of a U.S. Department of Defense National Guard state-sponsored program. They're saying that under this partnership, the Maine National Guard has assisted their military with training operations in this newly independent country. Additionally, representatives from Maine have assisted with emergency response, Marine patrol operations, and other initiatives in Montenegro. So, are the American people realizing that independent states are striking up independent deals with other small countries and sending our men and women to other places to train and to do things in these countries outside of the normal military apparatus? You're talking about our National Guard troops out of each state, and with this state being Maine. And of course, others could say, okay, we send our troops around the globe all the time doing this and doing that. Yes, that is our troops as a whole. That is our military as a whole. That's not just one state stepping up and saying, oh, we're going to strike up a deal with this country and start sending our National Guard troops there. And most people not realize what's happening. But this is what's happening.
So, anyhow, yeah, you know, do we need to say it again? That America, Babylon is the hammer of the whole earth, you know, that they set up governments and then they take them down. Well, the EU, the beast, you know, which is UN, NATO, is breaking up with America, and they're saying, fuck America, you know, we'll have protection, but it ain't going to be for, you know, we're going to have protection against America. And in the meantime, to keep everybody arguing and all that, they're going to make you believe that the House and Senate are divided against itself. And part of that's true, but pretty much the Rothschilds are doing what they want to, and, you know, they're going to make you think, though, that this, you know, like I had mentioned about Democrats, Republicans, and all that. So, you know, of course, they're going to be critical of Donald Trump talking with Vladimir Putin anyways. But all this is a smoke and mirrors, just like Benghazi. Whatever happened with Benghazi? You know, who took the rap for it? Wasn't Hillary Clinton working for Barack Obama anyways? But who got the actual blame for it? Not Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton. These yes men pretty much, you know, are always the targets, but collectively as a whole, this is just a holding company. That's all America is a holding company of the Rothschilds. So, this hammer of the whole earth, it is divided against itself. It will not stand. And, of course, like everything else, they are preparing for war.
Instead of standing up for our democracy and democratic principles, President Trump cowered in the presence of Putin, and the entire world watched and saw that. Trump's eagerness to sell out America proves the Russians must have something, personally, politically, or financially, on President Trump. As DNI Dan Coates has said, the intelligence community has stated the Russians are once again waging a campaign to interfere in our elections.